Okay, so I mentioned just earlier about we're going to be doing a Luke study, and I'm going to be looking at both the ESV and the NIV when we're looking at this text. So um, I'm just going to start off with Luke 1:1, and we'll go through 1:1 to probably 1:4 in this sitting. Let me just read it to start with. I'll read it out of the NIV. Many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled among us, just as they were handed down to us by those who from the first were eyewitnesses and servants of the word. Therefore, since I myself have carefully investigated everything from the beginning, it seems good also to me to write an orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the certainty of the things you have been taught. Okay, so that was the NIV version of Luke 1 through 4. Now, that sounds like a basic introduction and sounds like boring, right? I mean, you're like, okay, very nice. Let's get to really like the story, right? But I want to teach you here how to kind of slow down and to really grasp what is being said, because even though we're burning through this, there's a lot of important information here that if you just glaze it over, you're going to miss. So I want you to take your time with the text. The biggest thing I want you to learn is you need to take your time with the text so that you begin to really grasp all that God is saying through His Word. Okay? So let's start off with verse 1. I'm going to go into the NIV and then I'll read the ESV. So NIV says, "Many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled among us." The ESV says it this way: "Inasmuch as many have undertaken to compile a narrative of the things that have been accomplished among us." So obviously that's a very introductory statement, but I want you to catch some things. First of all, it's establishing the purpose of this document, okay? And it's saying this, it says that many have undertaken, or many have attempted to produce a record of Jesus' ministry and of his message. Now, this is important. So there's several accounts of Jesus's ministry that have been compiled or written. And this is important because Luke is the student and the researcher of these accounts. And that is the background of this book. He's literally digging into those things. And it says that he is looking to take on the account of the things that have been fulfilled among us. Okay, this is important because an account is a telling. It is a expression of or remembering of someone's experience, right? So this is a record of people's accounting of what God had done through Jesus that they had seen. And it says, of the things fulfilled among us. Now, this is really important because to fulfill indicates something. It's saying that these things happened and they are historical events, but more than that, they were things that were the fulfillment of something. And Luke's statement here is indicating that it is really the Old Testament prophecies of Jesus. That's what has been fulfilled. And this is important. There's over 300 messianic prophecies or prophecies about Jesus in the Old Testament. And literally to fulfill something, it means that God caused it to happen. He brought history to the point that these things occurred. So God is bringing prophecy to pass literally before the eyes of these eyewitnesses. And this is really significant. This is something that is of monumental significance to these people. And they are telling you the story of how they saw God do what he said he would do. It's pretty awesome. Prophecy is history before it happens. When you read Romans 4:17, it says this. It says, God, who gives life to the dead and calls into being the things that were not. Literally, when God speaks prophecy, he's giving us a foreshadowing. He's giving us a forecast of what he's bringing to pass. And he's calling that into being. And in this case, these people got to see it with their own eyes when they saw the ministry of Jesus. What is interesting too is that it says that these things were fulfilled among us. This is not something that Luke is talking about at a distance. He's saying, look, all this stuff happened right in front of us. And when Luke is looking for sources for this information, he doesn't have to go far for it. They're all right around him. And so that is why in verse 2 it says, just as they were handed down to us by those who from the first were eyewitnesses and servants of the word. The English Standard Version says, just as those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word have delivered them to us. So just as they were handed down to us, these reports are the exact accounts that were given to Luke, whether those are written or whether they are spoken to him. And those people were eyewitnesses to these events. So Luke was not there. Luke is most likely a Gentile convert to Christianity through Paul's ministry, and he later becomes a traveler with Paul. We read about him in the book of Acts. But this is the thing, Luke wasn't there, but he's talking to the eyewitnesses who were. And this is important, okay? There's no distance between the stories. These people experienced it right there, and he's getting firsthand information. And it says they were eyewitnesses and servants of the word. So they didn't just see it. They were followers of Jesus. They became servants of the word. So that they became preachers of the gospel, which is important because that means they risked everything to propagate this message, because first century Christians were not popular. Talk about like death sentences and like fed to lions and stuff. That's a big deal. But then also they knew Jesus, and not just the Bible, that he is the word. When it says the servants of the word, it's not just saying that they went out and preached. It's saying they served the word. The word was made flesh and dwelt among us, according to John. Jesus is the word. So they were servants of Jesus. Now it says that actually, you know what? That's verses 1 and 2. We're going to stop there because I'm already at 8 minutes. So digest that. Okay, think about that. That's just the first 2 verses of the introduction. This is the kind of content you want to begin to start thinking about. These are things you want to begin to start pulling out of the text because it's there. And you'll grow as you begin to engage it. All right. Till next time.